Okay, we're live. Good morning, everybody. At least it's morning where I am. I am normally coming to you from Phoenix, but this week and the next 4 weeks, I'll be coming to you from Seattle, where our twin grandsons live. They're 2 months old, and Mike and I are here to help out the new parents and just, get a whole bunch of baby love. So welcome, and I'm really excited um, uh, to welcome this morning to Defying Expectations my friend and coach, Katie Draznin. Um, Defying Expectations, this podcast is where we talk to people about the interesting and extraordinary ways that they're changing the world and defying expectations, and perhaps expectations of society or expectations they have of themselves. So, Katie, welcome. I'm so glad to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Good. Thank you. So, why don't you introduce yourself to everybody who's watching?
So, as Suki said, I am Katie Draznin. I am a speaker, author, and coach, and I teach people how to create a healthy relationship with fear. We live in a world where we don't really talk about fear all that much. Typically, the fears that we talk about are like the ones you can like hold in your hand or see, like fear of spiders, sharks, open water, things like that. And the fear that I work with is the ones that we don't see, like judgment, fear of being rejected, all of those fears that hold you back from living the life that you desire most and creating the life that you're excited to wake up to every morning. And so I work with people on creating a healthy relationship with their fear so that they can create that life. And every morning they're really excited to start the day and know that they are in control of their life and their fear is not the boss of them.
Right. Fear is not driving. That's exactly right. Thanks, Katie. So, I know in my life, a lot of the internal fears that you talk about came up. Um, came up when I became an entrepreneur and I decided that I wanted to be a coach. And there were just so many things. And it showed up in weird ways. It showed up like procrastination or like playing my phone game too long or whatever. I mean, it just shows up in such strange ways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and everyone's fear like manifests differently. Like you might talk to someone and they may tell you that their fear is fear of failure. And then you talk to someone else whose fear is failure, and they're both starting a business. And the way that fear of failure manifests could be getting like on your phone, playing games. It could be avoiding. It could be like procrastination, or it could be like jumping in head first and like not thinking about what you're doing, like self-sabotage. So
Yeah.
so it's based on your experience that you had prior to like in the early stages of your life. So it's really interesting. Fear can like two people can have the same fear and it manifests differently for them. So it's
Yes.
just such a fascinating topic. And um, I love the diversity of it. And
Mhm.
that's kind of
Yes.
what's
And it's pretty universal.
everybody
and
has everyone has fear.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Well, I'm interested in hearing. I know you've got a bunch of really interesting stories of defying expectations, and I'd like you to just jump in where you'd like to on that. I know you and I had a brief conversation about this earlier.
Yeah.
I think everyone will find this fascinating.
Yeah. So I guess I'll start like quickly. Like in the summer of 2015, I was introduced to personal development and emotional intelligence. And I decided that I really did not like my corporate job and that it was actually draining me. And I wanted something that like felt like it was mine and it was bigger than myself. And so I decided to start a nonprofit. And like literally the day, I believe it like the universe aligns when you're aligned, and like everything falls into place. And literally the day after I decided, I'm going to leave my job, I created the plan for leaving my job. So I had like money in place, and when like strategically was the right time to leave.
Right.
And literally the day after, I got a call from a friend that I met through a personal development training. And I was living in Chicago. She was in Northern California. And she asked me to move to Northern California and start a nonprofit with her. Literally the day after, I was like, this is my plan. I'm going to start my own. And so I was like, okay, so this was Friday evening that I spoke with her. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. Like I didn't really like have details. I didn't know how I was going to make it happen. I knew that by moving, I was literally going to be taking 100% pay cut. I
Oh,
knew that no
that's
money
big.
was going to be in. Exactly. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. Like I'm going to go for it. And so Monday morning came, I put my 2 weeks notice in. And literally 2 weeks later, I was on an airplane from Chicago to Northern California. And I started a nonprofit. And that nonprofit is super successful today. It's amazing. They are helping babies with infantile spasms and pediatric epilepsy. Like they're
Oh my
literally
goodness.
saving lives every day. And for a year, I started that nonprofit. I lived in Northern California, and I was the acting executive director. And just, I loved like helping people. However, I didn't feel fulfilled. I felt like something was missing in my life. And
Hmm.
I didn't know what it was, I didn't know where I was going to find it. However, I knew that when I was in Hawaii, sitting on a beach, like the most beautiful, picturesque Hawaii beach you can imagine, like beautiful sand, ocean, mountains, and waterfalls in the distance. Like
Oh man, waterfalls. Yeah.
I just felt empty. Like I felt like I felt empty, and like I felt like my life wasn't what I wanted it to be, and it wasn't where I wanted it to be. However, I had no idea what I actually wanted to be doing.
Right.
Knew that my whole life I've always said I wanted to be a part of something bigger than myself. And so
Mhm.
I've made a point to always be a part. Every job that I've had is something bigger than myself. Even my corporate job was like creating
Mhm.
something bigger than myself. However, sitting there, I was like, you know what? I think I really want to create my own something bigger than myself. Because, like, even the nonprofit that I was starting, it wasn't mine. Like,
Right.
it was her idea, her vision in honor of her daughter. And it was beautiful, and it was so much bigger than myself. However, it wasn't my something bigger than myself.
Right. It's interesting because when you were talking about sitting on the beach and feeling empty, my experience with that is when I'm doing something that isn't mine. That it's like I'm doing things because someone else wanted me to do it, but not because I wanted to do it in my
Yeah,
heart.
that's exactly what it was. Like I was doing things for other people. I
Mhm.
had literally in that moment, like I felt like I had lost myself. Like I didn't even know who Katie was at that point. Like I didn't I'm in like one of the most beautiful places in the world. Like I should be ecstatic and excited and like taking it all in, and instead I'm miserable. And
Yeah.
I didn't even like I didn't know who I was. And
Mm.
so when I got back to California, I literally the first thing I did was picked up the phone and I called my brother and I said, you know what? I am going to travel the world for a while. I don't know where I'm going. I don't have any plan. I don't know what it's going to cost. I don't know anything. I have no plan. Do you want to come with me? And he didn't even hesitate. He was like, yeah, let's go.
Oh my gosh.
So that was the end of November of 2016, and February 6th of 2017, We left with a one-way ticket to Belize, no plan.
So
That
5 years ago, you blew it up again.
I blew it up again. Yeah. So in the span of a year, I blew up my life twice. And we ended up traveling. We went to 14 countries, 4 different continents over 7 months.
Wow.
And I got to do a lot of like self reflection and figuring out like who I was, what I wanted to be doing, where I wanted to be doing it, and who I wanted to be surrounded by while I was doing it. And I got to like really get clear on why I wasn't doing that. And one of the biggest reasons why I wasn't doing that was fear.
Right.
And so I basically just was like, how do I overcome fear? How do I create all these things that I want to create in my life without fear controlling it? Because
Mm.
every time I was like, oh, I want to do this and I want to do this, the fears of, oh, I'm not capable of doing that. I'm not smart enough to do that. People are going to judge me. Or like if I do succeed, who in my life is going to leave me because I'm now up here. Like all these things where I was like, who, like, all
It's
of
so complicated, isn't it?
it is. And so I learned how to combat my own fear and how to create a healthy relationship, because at the end of the day, our fear doesn't go away. Like our fear is always going to be there. And we get to learn how to create a healthy relationship with our fear. And so I ended up, when I came back to the US, I ended up visiting some friends in Las Vegas, and they are pretty much my family at this point. And
Mm.
I lived in their guest bedroom for a year and a half. And before I was like, yeah, I live here now. Like, and so I moved to Las Vegas, surrounded myself with the most amazing people that I know, and I started like working with some of the most amazing coaches and mentors that I've ever had in my life.
Mm.
And I realized in the end of 2017 that, I wanted to start my own I want to start my own coaching business. Like I had no idea what it was going to look like. I had no idea
Mhm.
what I wanted. And it started with a workshop. And my mentor and coach at the time was like, okay, what's your workshop on? I'm like, I have no idea. I just know I want a workshop. And she's like, cool, let's sell a workshop. And I was like, how the hell do I sell a workshop that I have no idea what it is? And she's like, well, what do you want them to get out of it? And I was like, well, I want them
Mm.
to gain confidence, to find courage, to like all these different things. And she was like, cool, sell that. And so I was like,
So basically, you're selling your solution without quite knowing how you're gonna get there.
right. Because at the end of the day, the mechanism doesn't matter, right? However, I was
Mm.
like, okay. So I sold this workshop to 10 women, terrified out of my mind, because I'm like, how am I going to teach them that? Like, what's the content going to be? Like, I know what they're going to get. However, what's the content going to be? And I remember being at a women's retreat in Zion, and
Oh, that's the sparkle?
the Spark Women's Retreat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. And I remember being there, and I was at this courage workshop, and I don't really know much of what she said, because the first thing out of her, like one of the first things out of her mouth was, courage can't be taught. And I literally
Oh.
stood there and I was like, yes, it can. You can teach someone how to be courageous. And so I mapped out how to teach someone how to be courageous while she was like giving this workshop. And so on the drive back from Utah to Vegas, I told my coach in the car, I was like, so I know what my workshop is going to be. And she was like, what's it going to be? And I was like, I'm going to teach people how to be courageous. And from there, my Tell Who You're the Boss workshop was born, and my business was born. And the life that I am living today um, is as a result of me choosing, I don't know, when was 2015? 7 years ago, me choosing 7 years ago to take a risk and to leave a really safe, like I was 26 years old and I was making almost $60,000 a year, had amazing benefits, and I took a risk and I like left it all behind to essentially follow a dream and to see where it was going to take me. And now I'm here.
Well, and a dream that you didn't know then that you would be where you are now. I mean, you followed a dream but you had also had the courage to course correct when you found that direction you were going in wasn't the right one either.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was telling you, like, before we started, like, I truly believe that if I hadn't taken that first step, like, because all of these stories of blowing up my life, like, they all lead to like right here. However, it was
Mhm.
that first decision that really is the catalyst of all of it. Because if I hadn't, like, want like so many things, like if I didn't answer that call that night, or if I had chosen like, oh, however, like this is like what I want, like this is the safe route. Like if I had
Right.
chosen like this very clear like plan that I had created to create my own nonprofit, I truly believe that I would still be living in Chicago. I would probably still be miserable in my life. I
Hmm.
would be running a nonprofit, and chances are like I may not even be here because I was so miserable in my life that like taking my life was a thought that I had like recurring. So
Yeah.
I my life wouldn't be what it is if like I didn't take risk and I
Right.
didn't blow up my life and I didn't do the things that other people told me I was crazy for doing.
Yeah, and that's actually how I met you. You had a podcast. I don't know if you're still doing it. The Katie's Courage Couch?
Yeah, so it's still there. I haven't had an episode in a while. I've been focusing on a few other things.
Mhm.
However, it might come back one day.
Okay. Well, that's, how I met you. A friend of mine, was on Katie's Courage Couch, and it popped up in my Facebook feed, live, and I watched it, and I thought, "Hey, man, I need to get to know this woman," and I did, and, we've been working together for, at least a year now, maybe longer, and, I now teach your Tell For You're the Boss workshop as well because it is fantastic, and, I'm just really grateful that I met you and that you're in my life. So, I'm glad you defied those expectations of taking your, corporate job and just sticking with it until you retired and got your gold watch, which of course nobody gets anymore. But, yeah, I am glad you were able to do that, and, I think your story is gonna be really inspiring to a lot of people.
Well, I hope so. And I know that everybody's journey is not to like literally blow up their life the way I did, or to like basically just travel the world and not care about, well, not that I didn't care about anything else. However, like choosing that over what was safe. Like
Right.
I
Right.
know that that's not everybody's route. However, the way that people defy expectations is different for everyone. And
Everybody.
choosing you, that would probably be my biggest like learning is like at the end of the day, you are the person that you are going to be with for the rest of your life. And yes, there you'll have people that'll be in your life forever. However, you're the person that you're going to be with 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, forever. And so choose you and choose what makes you happy. Like you come first because it's like as cliche as it is, it's like an airplane. Like
Yeah.
you got to put your own mask on first before you put someone else's mask on, because if you pass out, you're not going to be any help to anyone else. So
Mhm.
take care of you, choose you, and that might look weird or it might look silly to other people. However,
Yeah.
or selfish, that's a word that came up a lot. Like it might look selfish to other people. However, it's here.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. I'm with you on that one. Thank you for sharing your amazing story of defying expectations, Katie.
Yeah.
I'm always glad to talk to you. And I want to remind everybody that defying expectations, starting in the month of September, is going to be about defying expectations over 60. So I'm 63, and I want to talk to women my age and above who are defying expectations in their lives or have defied expectations. So I think, Katie, you're not my last under 60 interview. I actually, when I meet people that have really cool stories to tell, I want to add them in as well. So this week on Thursday, September 1st, I am talking with Tammy Jean Lowe, TJ Lowe, and she's under 60 as well. So I'll throw them in every once in a while. But my Tuesday podcast is going to be about defying expectations over 60. So I want to thank everybody for joining. I want to thank Katie for your time and for being here and supporting my podcast. And one last thing I want to remind everybody is that I have a book that's coming out in October. And I know it's very exciting. I'm a little nervous about it. But if you want to be notified of the book launch activities, get on my mailing list, and I will put that in the comments on Facebook and YouTube and LinkedIn where this is going live. And I hope to see you on that list and joining us for all of those activities. So thanks again, Katie.
Yes, thank you for having me. And definitely get on that list because I've read the book and it is so good.
Thanks, Katie. Okay. See everybody soon.